Hi, my name is Joe Granducci, and I'm going to give you a demo of another example of off-the-shelf technology in what I'd like to call conceptual and procedural training. In this case, I'm going to show you something that I've developed in Unity with another friend of mine. Basically, it's in about an alpha state. It is workable, so we'll show you that. Just real quickly though, what are we trying to do here? We are attempting to get the students to the aha moment faster. That's been the whole drive between Optimized Syllabus, Pilot Training Next, trying to revamp the entire training ecosystem, to use an overused word, but it has great validity. So what do these things need to be? They need to be lightweight, repetitive, and relevant. Lightweight because the footprint needs to be as small as possible. They need to be easily deployed to things like phones or tablets or laptops. They need to be repetitive. That means on demand. Not repetitive as in boring, but I have access to it 24/7 as a student, whether I'm on syllabus time or my own time. They need to be repetitive and they need to be relevant. And by relevant, I mean aimed at the student and the instructor customer. The instructor is 50% of the equation. If the instructor can't use it to instruct, then they're not going to use it. The student will never see it and it will fall by at the wayside. Lightweight, repetitive, relevant. So as I said before, we're using Unity here, which is an open source software gaming development engine. They've made many Class A games out of this particular engine. It has an incredible capability. The cool thing, the great news about a conceptual and procedural trainer for basic building block pieces of a syllabus like ABM is that you almost can't get too simple enough with the air quotes games that you're going to build. You are simply taking one or two concepts and procedures, breaking them down to their very basic level, and then giving them a repetitive training device that is more of a sandbox idea, something they can manipulate in 3D space over and over again until that one basic concept is very, very well known. And when they show up to the briefing, that they don't have to be retaught that basic kind of idea. Now, let me just show you on this one, because what we're doing here with this particular training device is this is about cutoff intercepts. A very basic idea within the air-to-air combat arena, if you will, a very basic concept that we train our controllers on how to cut off another aircraft and intercept them. So I showed you the larger picture. That's kind of the wizard behind the screen right there, because that's the actual Unity software where you can put in the coding and the scripts and all the things that the software can do. This is an example of what it would look like on your screen, whether it is a tablet, a laptop, a home PC, whatever the case may be. And as you can see, just a quick overview of this thing. We've got an aircraft, a blue aircraft, a red aircraft. They're both going in that appropriate direction. You've got a vector stick coming off there. You've got red one, speed, altitude, heading. Same idea over here. Blue one, speed, altitude, heading. Capability to start it, to speed up in time, some centering capability, a little bit of verbiage down here about who's who in the zoo, and an airspeed thing. As you can tell, very simplistic. I even have a bullseye, which will be manipulable. Let's go ahead and get this started here. And I can actually move this thing around the bullseye. So very simple, two airplanes. How do I get them together? Well, we've got all kinds of math and things that we talk about. We get up on the whiteboard and we tell them what the different aspects and headings and the things that they need to have. They need to have the bearing, and they got to do reciprocal and all kinds of stuff, which is all very good and very true. We have a big FMT where we sit down and we train the student on that, and then we try to bring it all together right there. But what do they have in between that? Almost nothing, other than going to a whiteboard or maybe drawing out on a piece of paper. But what if they had something interactive like this, a very simple training device where they can see what's going on? So we'll just pause this for a second. We'll go ahead and pair up one to the red. We can see that blue one's paired to blue 2. We have a bearing range here. So we're looking at 078 for 87 nautical miles is one example right there. And we're trying to figure out what kind of cutoff we need. And as a general rule, if they're co-airspeed, then we're looking to make the old isosceles triangle. We're going to build an isosceles triangle. So where blue 1 is paired to red, you can see that that's a 078. The reciprocal, which is 258. The bandit's heading is 270. Which is 12 degrees difference, and so we're going to minus 12 from 078 to 078 to 066. We'll go ahead, new heading 066 issued to blue 2. We'll go ahead and hit play. We've got a turn right now. It's a standard rate turn is what we've got mech'd into this thing. And we're looking to see if we've built ourselves an isosceles triangle. The beauty here is that this is a sandbox, and the controller can kind of try anything that he wants. And he can do it over and over again. If he doesn't like what happened, he can reverse it. He can restart it. He can put two bandits out. He can do whatever he wants. So we're going to speed this up in time because, oh, by the way, it happens to be a computer and can do things like that. Even though we're not really going faster, we're going faster in time. We're still at 446 airspeed for the blue one, and the red is at 440. And you can see that our estimate is pretty darn good. Pretty darn good. And it looks like an isosceles triangle to me as he comes in there. We can, again, like I said, manipulate it. We can change the speeds on everything that we want there. So let's see how it works. And it looks like maybe, it's kind of interesting, he's going to end up a little bit early, isn't he? Well, why? Well, because he's faster, 446. The student just saw that visually happen in real time. He could slow it down into real time. We did it 10 times because I didn't want to make you wait for the whole 6-minute intercept. But he can see right away what his heading, what his math came out to, and what the effect was. And he can even see here saying, well, okay, I got it. They told me in my briefing that if the blue air is faster, that it's going to be a slightly hotter intercept. So I may have to adjust for the speed later on if I did further calculations along this intercept. And they can continue to do that whole thing. Let me give you just another example. So I've gone back to the editor and I've made red 1 at about Mach 1.5. He's going much faster than he was. So the student says, okay, let's see what happens if I have a Mach 1.5 target. I will go ahead and we'll start this thing. I'll give my guy 0. We'll start it correctly. I'll give my guy another 0.66. That was the calculation I made. And we'll just kind of ignore that the red guy is faster for the moment. What happens if the red target is much faster, going 1.5, and I don't give any updates along the way? I simply go with the old, we're about co-altitude, or sorry, co-airspeed, not co-altitude. And you can see a visual graphic representation in real time of exactly what that does to give you a cold intercept. Now, we can talk about that over and over again, but until you actually see it in 3D space, the conceptual procedural training of it, the idea that, yeah, we talked about it's going to be a colder intercept, but I don't really know what that means. And I look at it from here and I say, well, I have a really good idea right now of what that means and why it is that when later on in the program, when they get to it, why it is that we must have a larger cutoff if I'm going to put my blue air fighters on a faster target, whether it's high fast or just fast. But the point of it is not necessarily that we've broken down 2 specific scenarios. The point of it is there's hundreds, thousands of scenarios by manipulating this whole thing. You can put those targets anywhere you want on the screen. You can assign any airspeed, any heading. You can assign variable things like maneuvering to them. You can have them beam. You can have them turn. All of these things are in there, and you can build an editor for that so that the student has a repetitive, accessible, lightweight training device while he is in that block of cutoff intercepts so that he can gather that information, see it in 3D 10, 20, 30 times in the span of an hour or two before he goes to that first intercept mission or that first cutoff mission. Now the rest of it, the comm, the setup of the actual console, working with the crew, obviously we're going to get to that piece. But for this part, the student has a solid basis of understanding by having this kind of training available to him on demand whenever he wants to look at it. And as a matter of fact, later on in the program, if they need to go back and brush up on it, there it is. There it is. Hey, thanks for your time. I appreciate you guys listening to this. I will say that none of this is particularly revolutionary, but what I think you need to think about here is what is going to be revolutionary is getting off our rear ends and making this happen, because that's been the challenge, hasn't it? That has been the challenge. So the tools are out there, really. The rest of the world is starting to use them. I think it's time that the Air Force does too. Thank you.